me chiming and say good morning. Good morning to the entire Trial and State. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. I said it like 3 times, so I don't think I'll probably bother to say it again. But let me say hello this time around to our viewers. Those of you via GBN TV, Channel 7, Channel 11, and Channels 20. How is everybody doing? Our listeners via K105, whatever part of the island you're listening us from on K105. Welcome to the point for today. It's Wednesday. It's the 21st day of September within the year 2022. Let me take the time out also and say good morning. Yes, I did say good morning again to our viewers and listeners this time around via our social media platform. Those of you via the Facebook or the YouTube channel, welcome to another edition of To The Point. We do have a guest with us this morning, and of course the lovely Andrea Rapier, she with us this morning, and we will be chatting about loads of a couple of topics this morning we're going to be discussing about, and so let me take the time out to welcome her this morning and say good morning to Miss Andrea Rapier. Good morning to you, Miss Rapier. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the point this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. Before we getting into the deep conversation this morning, I would like to let you introduce yourself to the viewing and listening public this morning. The pleasure is yours to go right ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share your viewership this morning, and hopefully we can together deliver some great value to our community. So I'm Andrea Rapier, born, bred, raised Grenadian. I left Grenada when I was about 18, and I moved back to Grenada a couple of years ago after realizing the need of our community and the skills that I have and how I could help elevate the country and take us to the next step. I'm the leader of Power. It's a new political organization for the empowerment of Grenadians, and we believe in prosperity, opportunity, wellness, equality, and regional impact. Grenada is capable of it. And so we're doing so, and we could do it politically or non-politically. And now we have a new government, and so Power is on the backside working for our country. I am also a personal development coach, business consultant, and I specifically focus and expert in education innovation. The state of education globally is a mess. Our students' needs are not being met, and they're not being prepared for the future. And so I think there's another way to approach learning, another way to approach teaching, another way to engage information, and another way to develop the individual students. And so I've innovated a system that can do that, and we're planning on launching that from here in Grenada. All right. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm excited about the possibilities that we have before us, all of us working together to make it happen for the country. All
right. Interesting. You sort of tickled my fancy in terms of when you did the introduction of yourself, when you talk about learning and teaching. It's something, in just a manner in which you said, it seemed to be you have a passion for that in terms of passing that particular way about yourself onto individuals, whether for whatever level they may be at. Am I correct by saying that?
That is absolutely correct. And we tend to think of education as just the learning of the students. Are they learning? Are they not? But education is so much more. The teacher has a lot to do, perhaps a great deal to do with the students learning and creating an environment for learning. And so teaching has to be changed as well. Not just content in the classroom, not just the classroom itself, but teachers, the quality teachers, the teachers' education, the teacher's understanding of psychology and child development and how the brain of a student works and how to engage a student in a relevant way so that they're interested in education, that they're interested in learning, and also how to identify, how to be a coach, really. So in our system, which is called transaction learning and coaching, we call teachers learning coaches, because with the internet, teachers don't really need to give information. They need to guide the student. We could Google it now. I want to know, how far is the sun from the earth? I just pop that in and I can on a search engine and the answer is before me. So the information, which is kind of what you and I got in school, was just passing information on to us, and then we regurgitated it. And that was really our only source of information, and then the library. Now students can get online, and they're ahead of us. They're ahead of us in the ability to access information. So school needs to be more than just passing information on and having students regurgitate it to prove learning, because it doesn't prove it. Teachers now need to be coaches and developers of individuality. And so the TALC system is built on 5 specific pillars that we think are critical to student development. And one of them is academic, but that's only 20%. The current education system is offering academics as 100%. And although they coin all the great phrases like individual development and entrepreneurship, it's not really happening. They're just great taglines to sell. But if academics is only 20%, then what's filling 80%? Entrepreneurship, that's also 20%. Talent development. Most people are unhappy in their jobs because they chose the wrong career field. Anything that you are de-energized to do, you will never excel. So every person has a talent. They have a unique personality. That unique fingerprint means more than just identifying when you touch something. It means that you as a person, your soul carries something that no one else does. In school, school must be part of that development for the student, because they're there for so many hours a day, so much time out of the developing world. So school must now look at the student from the standpoint of who is this individual? Let's go on a discovery journey for the student to discover themselves and for us to discover the student, to find out how do they best learn, what are their natural gifts and proclivities, what are they passionate about, how do we use that information to inspire learning and development, so that the talent can become what the vocation is. So we find people that are 40 and 50 years old now finally deciding, I deserve to do what I love to do. And they've burned so much of their life and so much of their competence and the possibilities working in a job that they don't particularly like, they don't enjoy, and therefore they don't extract as much profit out of it as they could. What if we could circumvent that and get the student on the right path for that individual? So no student is compared to another, and no student is fitted into the mold of a system. The student is the mold. So every student is their own mold. And so teachers have to be able to identify that and guide that. And so we have a system to develop teachers as well, because you can't give what you don't have. So in TALC education, we develop the teacher, we develop the family, because not all parents even understand this. We assume they do, but they don't. It depends on education and exposure. And so within the TALC system, we're working with a triangle of the student, the family, and the school system itself to be able to create an environment where the student has a highway to take off into where they're happiest and where they're most productive. And we're going to actually see a social impact, an incredible positive social impact, because students would be busy about their business, about their life, what they're becoming. And so we want to elevate education from its smallest point where it is now, just exchanging information. And so I mentioned that it's academic development 20%, entrepreneurship 20%, talent development 20%, technology. Technology has invaded our world, and most students, especially in the Caribbean, Grenada included, the technology is a toy, but it was never designed to be a toy. It was designed to be a tool. A tool for what? A tool for access, a tool for innovation, a tool for communication. And with communication, innovation, and access, the possibilities are endless, because now there is no boundary. Geography is no longer limitation. So our students have to engage technology differently and become creators of technology, get into the back end versus just being able to go on Facebook and upload a picture, right? They should now be able to get into the market directly to their customers, whoever the end buyer is of their art, of their talent, of their services, and be able to create a quality of life for themselves and and develop something positive in their community. So technology is an intricate part. And so we believe that technology should be brought to the ABC levels of learning. So when a child is learning A, B, C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 0, they should also be learning coding. They should be learning the basics of Java. They should be learning the basics of Python, right? And so we're looking at a complete revolution of education, and we invented a technology that goes along with that to help manage that complexity, so that there's a path for the student and it's clear. And if the student deviates, that could be recognized very quickly. Did we get it wrong? Is the student developing in a different way? Did the student find a new interest? Well, we could use that energy. We can use that for new possibilities. And so education is always relevant. You know, kids go to school dragging in the morning and they can't wait to get out in the evening. They run out the door in the evening. We want them excited about going in and really not wanting to come out, because it's such a creative and developing space. So there's a lot to be done. and teachers can't give what they don't have. And so we have undeveloped people in the classroom passing information on and missing the opportunity to invest in the individual. And talk education is changing that.
Certainly very interesting information there from you. I'm certainly learning from your skill set there that you have just delivered a whole lot. And you know, some of what you spoke about is certainly needed in today's way of how, you know, students and even regular individuals who may not be attending school. But some learning process is always needed to set yourself ahead, because, you know, I always say school is only just one portion of your learning experience. You understand?
Yes.
Because 90% of the time, the material that are taught to you at school, most of the time is never put into practice. You understand? It's never put into practice until you get out into the real world, per se, and you realize now all that I was taught is not even necessary until I put the other initiatives in within. So we're coming back with so much more to talk about this morning. We're here for a wee bit. We're going to take a break, and we're coming back. It's to the point here on the K105 and the GBN TV. We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us. Don't touch your dial.
Raise it high up the ladder.
I come with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. How you come with?
I got marble young man. Win all this thing.
Alright, we go find out. Mother ring big so. How much you playing? 4 down. 4 down.
So you playing 4 down, right?
Yeah.
Tips, man. Tips. I man on tips.
Hey, that man back.
Play.
How much you come with, man? How much you come with? You go with a lot? You go with a lot?
You broke me, man.
I go with 4, 5 and I go with 0. What we go with 0, boy?
Nah, I have a last piece.
You ready?
I'm in last stop.
You have to play for that, huh? No, I go leave one.
Let me play that for 2. Let me attack.
Okay, I'll learn your yellow.
Alright. So, I set now for 2.
Yeah.
Aye. Yes.
What you have to say, though? What you have to say?
Yes.
What you have to say? What do you do? People, let me tell you something. Don't matter where the ball he talk marble, he can't play ball. He knocks soft, he playing sneaky. But you ain't even Friday. You will tell us about the game Friday?
Brings.
I don't bring. I better they used to call me G's. Anyway, we go tell you about Friday and we culture. 8 o'clock, join us.
Whether you're shopping for hardware,
Welcome back to our listeners and our viewers this morning to the point here on GBN TV and K105 Radio. And in the introduction, I did mention to you, we have, of course, Miss Andrea Rapier this morning. And we're discussing lots this morning. You know, we don't have any specific subject matter, but we flowing along with things. And welcome back, Miss Rapier. So to have you in the background there and say good welcome back. Welcome back to us this morning. No, in your introduction about yourself this morning, you did point it out, and I'm sure the listeners out there did hear you mention that, you being the political leader of that political party by the name of Power. May I ask you, why did you... Power. Right, Power. You're right. Now, may I ask you this? Why did you decide to get into politics and decide to form the political party of that nature? If it's okay with you, Dan saying that.
Certainly. Great question. I decided to get into politics because when I looked at the landscape of Grenada, 2019, I returned to Grenada after I heard some news overseas, people in the diaspora complaining about the country and where it was. And I came back and just did a survey, observation, analysis. And I realized that what the country needs, I have something to give, a huge contribution in the areas that we have gaps are also areas of my skill set. and education. So I started returning to Grenada once a month for about a week, just working in the communities, teaching soft skills like communication, parenting, conflict management, getting people to believe again in themselves, and finding a way to wiggle through the barriers to be able to create a quality of life for themselves. And I will say here that quality of life is not just money, but it is inclusive of. And the work became very intense, and so it was best that I relocate to Grenada. Why politics specifically? Because to be able to affect change, you need to be able to rewrite policy. You need to be able to open the valves and open the gateways so that people have access to the things that they need to be able to develop and improve quality of life and education and so on. And so government is a platform. Politics is one of those platforms that allows us to do that. And at the time, we had a government that was quite disinterested in development. Since then, of course, we've had an election. And I'm very happy that Grenada has decided to make a change. Let me say that again. Very happy that Grenada has decided to begin change. Because the election is the beginning of something else. It's the end of one era and opening of another. And power believes that what's missing in our community is power itself, prosperity, opportunity, wellness, equality. And if we could set those things up, we can have a regional impact, because there are other islands in the Caribbean with the same deficits. And as a Caribbean unit, we need to unify to be able to have a larger impact. And so politics was a way to pull the people together who were saying, I want to become involved. I want to do leadership. I want to be part of the change, but I don't have an outlet that fits my values to give it. And so we formed power to create that kind of space for people who are interested in the real work of change. And so whether we're in office or not, prosperity and opportunity and wellness and equality and regional impact is still our responsibility, not just our organization, not just government, but every Grenadian. And so we're continuing to do our part to make that happen.
May I ask you this also, in terms of you going along in that particular direction? Are you willing in any time, or if the opportunity comes around, to share your skill set in terms of nation building? Being part of the political organization you're at, are you willing to, set aside that and be part of helping to, in terms of nation building? Are you interested in that? I'm seeing the smile on your face. I'm wondering if that's a ticklish question per se.
Absolutely. One of the problems we've had in the Caribbean, one of the problems that we've witnessed in Grenada, is the partisanship that if I am not active in that government, or if I'm not supporting that party, then I sit with my arms folded waiting to see what they're going to do. But this is our Grenada. This is our Grenada. Every government will fail if we, the people, don't rise and build. It requires the people. And I want to show you something. While we were on the break, I designed this little triangle because I want people to really get a picture of where they fit into the scheme of nation building. Mm-hmm. So we look at our nation as a pyramid. Government's at the top, and government flows things down, and we the people, I'm talking about our current paradigm, and we the people just kind of take it, chew on it, spit out what we don't want, swallow the rest, and we go on. We complain, and government continues to do what they're doing. But nation building requires a flip of the pyramid, where government is to provide an environment that strengthens and builds the people, so the people will build the nation. And so government is not there to rule over people. Government is there to provide support, to provide policy, to provide the right access, to open the doors of the country to business, and the right kind of business, not passport sales, but the right kind of business. And the people have to see themselves as the weight. They are the pinnacle of development, and it's their responsibility to do it. So whether power is in office or not, our job as Grenadians is to build the country. And if, for those of us who voted for the current government, we can't go sit down now and say, okay, let's see if they earned my vote. We can't sit there and say, I voted for you, so what are you going to do for me? And for those of us who didn't vote for this government that's in power now, we can't fold our arms and sit aside to see what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years to decide, are we going to switch or not? Right? Because we're failing the country with that kind of paradigm, that kind of mindset. Development is on us, and what we need to do is think, how do we innovate forward? If I innovate as an individual, if I could look at my environment and see where I can make improvement, where I can bring positive energy, where I can contribute, where I can improve my personal life and the quality of life for my children. My responsibility. If 50% of us will do that, we will upgrade the entire country. We will develop the entire country, and we partner with government to do that. So Grenada was not first politics, it's first people. And politics is just a means of bringing development and adding power to the people of the country. So yes, I will work with the government, and I will work without the government. I'm not waiting. We're not waiting in power for the government to say, hey, we need this. No, we see the need, we jump in, we're making it happen. It's why we're here, and that has to be the attitude going forward, because whether this government says it or not, they inherited a critical mess. The country is on life support, right? And we can't live on life support. There's a point where we've got to get up off that bed, and we have to breathe, and we have to get out, and we have to be energized, and we have to redevelop those latent muscles, and we have to learn to move again, and we have to learn to run again as a people. So it's all of us to make it happen. Power is just one small element of that.
I'm certainly happy about that, the way you have answered that, and you've certainly brought a level of enthusiasm to me pertaining to your organization. Let me ask you this again, before we switch to another subject matter this morning. Where does power go from here? Not bad,
Power continues on our agenda. Our agenda was always those 5 elements, and we continue on that agenda, picking up social projects, looking at what our government's doing, looking for solutions, and how we could propose that to government and partner with them. But I'm going to give you a good example. One of the things that's happening now is the mosquito spraying. And we sort of think that is a tiny thing, right? But the mosquito spraying, they're using a very toxic element, and it's mixed with diesel. I get headaches from it. So every time the smell comes from another village or they spray my village, I have a migraine because of the toxicity. We are slow poisoning our country using those products. So I did the research, I found out what we're using, and I can go complain. What we're doing now is looking for alternative solutions to our mosquito problem, because it is a problem. We can't just continue it and we can't criticize it. We're looking now for an alternative solution so that when we go to government, we can say, hey, here's what we discovered. Here are the ills and the side effects and how this is potentially hurting the wellness of the country. But here's where we found an affordable, healthy alternative that could work very well for us and be effective. Would you be interested? And that's sort of the approach that we're taking with everything. And also making sure that there's accountability. We back to what I said earlier, sitting with our arms folded, waiting for it to go wrong is not how we're going to win. But at the same time, there must be accountability in governance. So in the government, from what looks like development, the proper way, we need to talk to government and hear what are we thinking, where are we going with this? Because sometimes from the outside, we don't understand all the intricacies. So we need to, before we criticize, before we start calling names and pointing at things, have dialogue and communicate. So power is here to keep that check and balance, and also to help support, undergird, and push development forward. And it's not about who's going to win the next election. It's about how do we move Grenada. And if this government wants to move Grenada forward, which actually, if I remember correctly, was their party's mantra during the election, then power wants to move Grenada with them. And we're going to move Grenada forward, whether our government make the right decisions or not. But we want to support the decisions, and we want to help make corrections if there are corrections to be made.
All right. Interesting. So we drew for a second break in this segment of the program this morning, To The Point, here on the GBN TV and the radio. We're coming back with more from Andrea Rapier here on GBN TV and radio. We're coming right back, folks. Don't touch your dial.
Whether you're shopping for hardware, building materials, and appliances, Hubbard's Building Supplies at Grandans is the place to shop. With improved facilities, increased parking, wider variety of products, and a trendy and spacious layout, catering for all your shopping needs. Why wait? Visit Hubbard's Building Supplies today. Now open Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Hubbard's. Quality service, affordable prices.
Kenny's Trucking and Equipment Services Limited. Now introducing Portland King Cement, Grenada's toughest and most high-quality cement, engineered with you in mind. Whether it's residential or industrial construction, Portland King Cement has been tested to achieve profound results that you can trust. The choice is clear. Choose Portland King, tougher than the rest. Visit Kenny's Trucking and Equipment Services Limited on Dusty Highway. Call telephone number 439-6605 or 440-6605. Or visit our 2 other locations, Westerhall in St. David and Dunfermline in St. Andrew.
Feel good tax.
Remember, if you have flu symptoms, do the right thing and stay at home to avoid giving it to others. Remember, you can be infectious up to a week after developing symptoms, so rest up and take it easy.
It is important to know what your road signs and markings means. The zigzag lines means you should not park in the marked area. Parking is allowed inside the solid white lines on the edge of the road. Remember, look out for pedestrians. Pedestrians, be sure the vehicle comes to a complete stop before crossing. These tips can save your life. These tips can make our roads safer for all users. Be safe, be seen, be smart. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back, folks. It's Wednesday, the 21st. And before we proceed, let me remind you, don't forget Cricket Lovely Cricket comes up for you. CPL Cricket comes up this morning at 10 a.m. And the Cricket in Action moves to Guyana this morning. And we have the Barbados Royals men's team comes up with the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots. And that game kicks off from 10 a.m. this morning. Stay locked on to K105 and GBN TV for lovely cricket action. So which means, you know what happens on the mornings when I do to the point and we do have cricket. We will have an early wrapping up of the show per se. So just around, say, quarter to 10 minutes to, that's when we're going to take a wrap for the program for today. So we're back once again with Andrea Rapier this morning. Interesting conversation with her this morning. She spoke earlier, of course, the pretext pertaining to, education and her skill set per se in terms of teaching and so forth. And she gave a wonderful explanation about that. We also spoke to her pertaining to her being part on the political field, being the leader of power, and a couple of questions fell in between there, which she, of course, answered wonderful. This morning, I want to chime in on something with you once again, Andrea. Welcome back. Pertaining to, I guess that feeling from you in your earlier conversation, especially in the introduction, when you spoke about entrepreneurship. All right? When you spoke about entrepreneurship, I'm gasping that you have a passion for that in terms of seeing people move forward and able to help themselves. You understand? Get into their own little business. Tell us your passion pertaining to entrepreneurship before I grab another question go to you.
Okay. You're 100% right, except on the word little. We want them to go from little to big business.
Okay.
We want them to go from little to big business because that's what's going to take for them to leave a legacy of economic wealth for their families for generations to come. And we could do that in this little divine paradise of Grenada. So entrepreneurship is going to be the way we develop our country and we grow our economy. Without entrepreneurship, it's not going to happen. There's no other way. Government needs money to run the country. Taking money from people that don't have money doesn't work. We have a large debt load. We have a low per capita income. Our inflation is high. We have high importation tariffs because the government needs money. That's not how we move our economy. The way we move our economy is to focus on entrepreneurship and skill development along with that, because our citizens need skills to be able to develop business and also to work for those businesses so that we are consistent with quality and we can sustain productivity. So that said, I'm always looking for opportunities. I do a lot of business coaching as well. And it's interesting that most of my personal development clients always rotate into being a business client, because as people start developing their confidence and discovering themselves and their passion, they start realizing that the only way to really employ that is to do their own thing. And so I help them navigate through that, and that consistently within 30 days, my clients are either starting a business, doubling their income, hiring employees. And so the track record has proven that it works. It's entrepreneurship that's going to do it. So we have a program called Access. And when I say we, it's a number of Grenadians that have assembled around the idea of innovation, entrepreneurship, and problem solving in our local community. And we have somebody from NDC in this group. Of course, I'm with Power. We have people in the diaspora. We have a millennial in the group. We have somebody that's in the retirement age in the group. So it's a very well-represented group of our country. And we are all there for the same reason. And it's just creating this entrepreneurship and innovation opportunity. And so what we're doing is taking aspiring entrepreneurs or small business owners and helping them develop, grow, scale, export their business and services. We have several areas in our community where there's an oversaturation of products. Well, those products can leave the country and start bringing money in. We're spending a lot of money as a country importing. Our importation rates are just too high. We need to create our own value chains here in Grenada. We need to be able to shift into manufacturing and export into markets that actually have gaps that we can fill. So it's not a matter of if we can do it, it's once we do it, we're going to absolutely inherit an incredible transformation in our economy. And so one of the things that Access is putting on, we're starting with food, only because food security is a major issue. There's more demand for food than there is supply at the moment. And Grenada has it in abundance. You spit a seed out and you're going to have a tree coming up in your yard. So I hope you want that seed. And so what we're looking at now in November is doing what we call Cafe, Culinary Art Food Expo. And we're calling on entrepreneurs in the food business and beverage business to bring their best product in. And we will have the public come in. So it'll feel like a food festival in one part, but the exhibitors the entrepreneurs are being judged, their products are being judged, and the winning products will be the first ones that we help take to manufacturing for growth and for scale and for exportation. And we're bringing a business in a box package to the country. So I'm going to give you a real quick example, right? So someone who loves to make, let's say, potato pudding, sweet potato pudding. They're very good at it. They make it. They sell it in the community. They sell out. But they're not going to get rich on it. Their sales just simply rotate to take care of their families. Now, can we take that product, package it up, and export it into another market? We can. But the individual is very good at making sweet potato pudding. They're not that good at business. So how do they succeed? And that's a large percentage of our small businesses. How do they succeed? We bring all the elements that are missing so that entrepreneur can focus on production.
All right. They
can focus on what they really do. We bring the legal aspect. We bring the investors. We bring the bookkeeping and the accounting. We do a business analysis. We see what's needed, what within our community can add to that value chain, create the supply chain for that, and voila. We're ready for business. And we want to do this over and over and over and over again. So we formed Access to be able to do that. And and when I use the word investors, people tend to think in our country that we don't have resources and investors come from overseas. Wonderful. We want the investors from Europe. We want the investors from Africa. We want them from South and Central America and North America. No problem. But we want Grenadians to invest as well. We want Grenadians to invest because we can invest. We can invest in ourselves. We can invest in companies locally. We can become part of our own development. We are the heroes of our own rescue. And so one of the things that I am doing personally is networking overseas to recruit the right types of investors who understand that Grenada is a virgin cell, a virgin gold mine of businesses and opportunities with resources that have not yet been developed in a way that it could be developed and expanded. So just matching our people with what they do well, with the resources that we have, and finding the markets that match that and putting them together in this wonderful value system that allows for growth, for economic prosperity, and to get Grenada on the map of all the foods out in the communities. I go to Europe frequently, every 3 months or so. I don't see Grenada products out there, but I do see products that I know that we can do better. We can do better. So access is that opportunity. We're going to start marketing our cafe experience starting next week. So people would need to register for that. They would have to meet the criteria because we want them to be successful. We want them to put their best forward. So this is a really incredible opportunity for Grenada, and we're excited about the outcome. When we look back and we track the success and the social impact of this, I think we can be very proud as a nation that we're doing something.
All right.
Like that.
Interesting. I have an accent. I also want to ask you this. You're going to give some information, especially for individuals who may want to get us some information from you, being part of the access program that you have out going on over there right now. But I have this question I want to ask you, and it goes in terms of you offering advice. Now, we see, for say, in Grenada today, people would see an individual get into business, and for some reason they have the intention or get the impression, per se, that individual is doing good. I want to get into that particular business also. And then you see 20, 30 individuals getting into that same business. Now the market is now filled up with all these individuals doing the same business. What kind of an advice would you like to give to individuals out there? You understand? In terms of maybe being a little more innovative. Because is entrepreneurial innovation that we were into here this morning. What sort of advice would you like to throw out there for individuals?
Right. So I want to throw out a term called USP, unique selling proposition. Every business, to be successful, you must bring something that fills a need in the market. So if one person, or let's say 10 people are in this specific type of business, let's say roti business, 10 people in the roti business, and they're doing very well, right? If I enter that market, is there room for me? Is there still a need? Do these 10 people run out of roti and people are still looking for roti, right? And how do I get that information to start with? Well, I need to survey. I need to do an analysis. But the unique selling proposition is what your business brings to the market in a way that no one else does. So even if I went into the roti business, I would have to do something differently that the others aren't doing. So maybe my roti automatically comes with a salad for no extra cost, right? And this is where innovation comes in. But in our little Grenada, we still have a lot of gaps in the market, which is what makes entrepreneurship exciting, because there's a lot of room for growth, for new businesses, and we want to open new markets. So instead of jumping into the wave of that product, how about a complementary product, or just a different product altogether, completely disconnected from where you see this line of success? So we all need a unique selling proposition in our businesses. And if your business is not going to be unique, do something different, because you need to succeed at it. You don't want to compete in a space where there's very little room. You want to do something where if you're the only one doing it for the next 2-3 years, wonderful, because you get ahead of the market and you get to set the market standard. Another thing that we should also look at, though, is partnerships. He's good at it, they're doing very well, but I'm really, really good at it too. Perhaps we can partner and expand that into another scale. Maybe we could do frozen roti packages where we export frozen foods. If you go in New York or anywhere in the United States and even in Europe, you see people dropping frozen dinners into their basket all the time. I don't see Grenadian frozen dinners because we haven't thought about that. We're oversaturating our own market. So partnering up with each other, and this is something that we're also doing in Access, is looking at the businesses within this value system to see how current businesses can elevate one another, or how we could create another business that can partner so that everybody's winning. It ultimately comes down to education. The entrepreneurs don't know this information. What they know is they have a financial need. They have to fill it. They need to fill it fast. They have families to feed, children to send to school. So let's make something and sell it. What's selling? Roti selling. Okay, I'm going to make roti. And it doesn't go past that. They're simply trying to survive. But we want to get them in the thriving space where they do real big business and they can benefit from it on a whole scale. And so Grenada is just big enough and just small enough to have a really intricate value system where we can really develop businesses and shove stuff into foreign markets, and also reduce importation and stack our shelves with our local products, because now we actually are eliminating some of the costs that's added to importation, so we can also do a reduction in the cost of food in our own stores locally, and not just food but other products as well.
Interesting there, because I asked you that question because, being an entrepreneur, you understand, individuals who wants to be an entrepreneur themselves always seem to get into that problem. And I like the way that you describe it in terms of saying that partnership could be a fruit. You understand? It creates that stagnant in the market where not one individual alone is doing that, but more than one coming together could create that a more positive market for all of it. We only going to invite a couple of phone calls this morning for those of you listeners and viewers out there. You have probably a question or two you would like to ask Ms. Rapier. Certainly she would be happy to answer. Certainly, and then you also want to give me that information if you can also, pertaining to, if you want to throw that information out there to folks who want to be part of the access and how they could get in contact with you, and of course you can help share ideas and help move, of course, things forward. Let's take a phone call this morning. Good morning to you, caller. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Miss or Mrs. Rapier, you're too great to be part of Grenada. I love what you said or the information that you are giving. I wouldn't say me, the rest of the people. I have the same ideas like you. Now, one question I want to ask you. At the beginning of your discussion or conversation, you spoke about, well, you mentioned teachers and so on, teaching and this and that. I want to ask you, are you a teacher, or who is a teacher? Or what constitutes a person to be a teacher? Should they be only in the classroom, or are they all around? In other words, in the whole of the country? Because you see, my idea of a teacher is possible people like you, not those only in the classroom. Comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the caller, for this morning. Ms. Rapier, of course, you want to answer the caller's question if you did get everything he said, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got everything, so I'm just going to do a check. Is he asking whether or not I'm a teacher in the classroom, or what's exactly the question?
I think he more or less asks what is teaching. I think that's what he asks. Is it just being a teacher in the classroom, or being out there and teaching in general? I think more or less that's where he was going around.
Yes. Everyone is a teacher. Let's start there. Everyone is a teacher. There's always someone learning from another, and you could be deliberate about it, like I am deliberate about it. And I'm not a classroom academic teacher. It's just not what I enjoy doing. But I am constantly teaching soft skills. I'm constantly teaching business. We all have something we know and we can all teach. And one of the disconnects with current education is that life experience outside the classroom is not injected as learning. So when a student leaves the classroom, for example, and goes to football training, and talk education fixes that issue. But when a student leaves school in the afternoon at 2:30 and they go to football training at 3 o'clock, they learn so much from the coach other than kicking the ball. And there is absolutely no way that is quantified and brought within the education profile to be credited to them as learning. And that is something TALC changes. So we create an access point that connects into everything in the student's life and is quantified within our digital system so that they see the relevance of all the experiences within learning. And the other half of the question that he didn't ask but also answer it is, school is also not the only place we learn. So school is not the only place we teach, and it's also not the only place we learn. And we should ever be learning, and we should always be conscious that we're teaching.
All right. Certainly hope your answer did go in there, and the caller did answer that. I certainly hope so. 435-2041. We still going to accommodate another call or two before we take a wrap this morning. I think we do have a caller. Caller, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, GT, and good morning to Ms. Rapier. First of all, GT, I wanted to share the information I passed on to her because maybe she could benefit from that session later on, because it had to do with partly what we're talking about. And let me say also, today is the United Nations International Day of Peace, which maybe we should have been using as a means of helping people to resolve conflict and understand the dynamics of conflict and so on, and misunderstanding. But not a mention was made, not even of your medium. And this is not an indictment on you, but I mean, not even. And this was done. The United Nations International Day of Peace was established many years ago, and we are not doing anything about that. But yet, when somebody kills somebody or there's conflict within family, we make a big fuss about it. So that is one. The other thing is also today is the World Day of Gratitude. These are where you might say concepts that we should be encouraging so that we have better citizens. Now, coming to Ms. Rapier. A lot of what he said, it makes a lot of sense. But unless we do some unraveling, for instance, the paradigm which has us thinking about ourselves as subservient to other people, especially the people of the ice, and until we, and maybe that's where this seminar this tonight comes in, unless we understand that all the things we're doing, even though we have, they said that the road of misery is paved with good intention, unless we have understanding of how we are impacting each other, how we are impacting the environment, how we are sabotaging ourselves continually, we will continue to really spin top in mud. A few years ago, I asked a top education official, we were in some kind of activity, and I asked him if he ever heard of Sir Ken Robinson. Now, if you're in education, you must have read about Sir Ken Robinson, who has said a lot about the deficiency and how the education system worldwide is paralyzing or I might say disabling us. I would ask Ms. Rapier, does she have any kind of comment? Any kind of idea of Ken Robinson? Idea of how education should become more practical and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, dear caller. I'm not sure if you were able to answer any of the information he threw out. It was a little bit tough in terms of getting most of what he said out. There was a little bit of a noisy background, per se.
Yes, I think I caught a little bit. One about peace, and I want to say something about that. But I'll start with his last question about, if I understand correctly, contributing to, maybe training the teachers perhaps, or so how the teachers know how to properly teach, if I'm getting him, because it's very difficult to hear him. Well, my services are always available. So let's start with that. And I'm constantly doing work in the community. If the government wants me to come in and do training with teachers, I would absolutely love to do it. Not a problem at all. And individual schools can also contact me. I've been contacted by one school already asking me to come in and work with their parents, because I also work with parents in the dynamic of education. And so providing the service is easy. It's what I love to do, and it's what we need. So not a problem. He mentioned something about the United Nations peace, Day of Peace and all of that. The United Nations can't legislate peace. They can't. A peace day is not what motivates us to be able to properly solve conflicts and to live in peace with one another. It's a human condition. We don't even live in peace with our own selves. I always say that if you lock someone up in a room by themselves, all white walls, no windows, no doors, but they can breathe, right? Logistics out of the way. But you lock them up in a room, and after 2 or 3 days, they'll fight themselves. It's the human condition. We are within conflict within our own selves. The important thing is for us to recognize responsibility for the value of human life. And I'm not talking about murder. I'm talking about just valuing human life as being a reflection of the image of God and treating everyone regardless of who they are and what they do, because it's not about them, it's about my responsibility. Respecting and honoring the value of human life and being a contributor into the lives of the people that you come in contact with. You go into the store and the girl has a bad attitude. Something could be going wrong in her life that day, and you could take responsibility for bringing positive energy into that space. You have a conflict at home. Do you want to win the fight, or do you want to resolve the conflict? You get to make that choice. You have to take responsibility for that choice. If you want to win the fight's going to go on for a while. But if you want to resolve the conflict, then you grow and you learn and you innovate solutions to whatever the problem is. And so there is no government or organization that can sanction peace. We have to make a decision to be responsible and to value human life and to respect and value ourselves and understand that as being formed in the image of God, I have value. It's not about my education. It's not about the money I have. It's not about the shoes on my feet. I could be homeless sitting on a park bench. My value is a reflection of the Almighty, not about anything I have or lack. And thus, if I could bring that value into the spaces that I am, if I could bring that value where I see there's a need, if I could bring that value in the form of a good attitude, in the form of helpfulness and kindness, in a form of maybe turning the other cheek sometimes when you're slapped, honestly. Sometimes you need to, other times you don't, and being able to discern that. And also giving yourself and others the grace that when I am at my worst, I still have value, and I can pick up from there, and I can grow, and I can evolve into a better becoming. We have to give ourselves that grace, and we have to give people that grace, and that's where peace will begin to flourish in our community. So whether we recognize the United Nations Day of Peace or not, those things are ceremonial formalities that really mean nothing and have no value if we don't take responsibility as individuals.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Rapier, this morning. Interesting conversation. We could certainly go on all morning to chatting and learning so much from you. I want to thank you once again for being part of To The Point for today. I did ask earlier that you share some information pertaining to the group that you are part of,
yes,
that you can share just in case individuals would like to get in contact with you and gain some more knowledge in terms of you helping them move forward. Just before we take a wrap, it's almost time for us to take a wrap. We could do that first quickly. Just share that with information.
Yes, so access phone number is 405-6236. What I recommend at this point is that you send a text saying that I'm interested in access. Just send a text to 405-6236, just saying your name, your phone number, your email, and I'm interested in access, because we don't want to be bombarded this week, right? You're going to have access to our social media on our website to actually go on and register and reach out for information and so forth. And so that's coming, and promotions are coming, and you're going to know exactly where. But in the meantime, our access phone number is 405-6236. And before we wrap, just quickly, I want to tell you guys about Caribbean Transformation International Network that's launching in Grenada this weekend, starting Friday. The network is an organization that's formed to help develop the Caribbean, to help strengthen the Caribbean, island by island, looking at unique needs in each island, and just bringing resources and expertise to help build the people and build the country. So they're coming to Grenada this week, and it's not a competition with government. It's to support government and to support the people. And so we're launching this weekend. I'm a consultant to the organization. And Friday night is a cocktail at Mandela Court, specifically for leaders. And they've received information. It's by invitation only. Saturday, we're asking for all pastors and community leaders to come out to our luncheon at Open Bible Church, and that begins at 4. It's a luncheon workshop with some leadership training, and you're going to be certified at the end of that event. And then Sunday, we're doing a prayer and praise procession, a motorcade going from the government complex in Tantine to the Esplanade Mall. And that's just to celebrate Grenada, to celebrate the fact that we have changed, to celebrate our potential, to thank God for that, and also to pray for our country. We don't want to wait until this is a disaster to do it. And we don't want that when things are going well and we feel a bit at ease that we extract God from the picture. We want to keep moving forward. We want to keep hitting the pavement. We want to keep pounding the wall. Breakthrough happens if you keep hitting the same spot over and over again. We want to break our nation through. And CTIN is coming this weekend, launching in Grenada. They've launched in Guyana and Trinidad already. And I firmly believe that Grenada could be the anchor that really helps bring transformation as we transform to help the other islands transform as well. So things are happening in Grenada, and I want it to happen to you. So get out and participate. And I think the motorcade is assembling at 4 o'clock at the ministerial complex on Sunday.
All right. Well, once again, I want to thank you, Ms. Rapier, for being with us this morning, and certainly it was a pleasure having you. And I'm sure that the listening and the viewing public of did learn a whole lot. Until we can have another conversation like this again, I want you to have a great day.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. God bless all of you.
All right. Hey, that's what we come to the end of To The Point for today here on GBN TV and K105. Coming up next, folks, we have for you CPL cricket, folks. Don't forget. Coming up, we have for you out of Guyana today. Who's playing? Yes, we have the Guyana Amazon Warriors. They come up against. Let me get this right. We have for you the Trinidad Night Riders. They come up against Kitts and Nevis Patriots. All right. So that game starts at 10 a.m. Just in about 2 minutes or so from now. So until then, have yourself a great day, folks. We have cricket coming up next here on K105. This is where I say goodbye for To The Point for today.